Poe Dameron. Pilot, commander, hero. I don't know about the rest of you, but when the sequel trilogy first started, I was nervous. I had a lot of worries about what the story would be or how good of quality the actors' performances would be. And I gotta say, upon meeting Poe for the first time, I almost instantly was put at ease, and he was a leading cause for my enjoyment of the sequels. When we first meet Poe, he's on a mission to find the whereabouts of Luke Skywalker. His search has taken him to the same village that Finn will soon be finding himself at with his First Order squad, who are also there to find any information on Luke as well. After a quick and overwhelmingly one-sided battle, Poe ends up getting captured, but only after Kylo arrives and uses the Force to hold him in place so his soldiers can take him into custody. You can imagine my surprise when the next words out of his mouth would be snarky and surprisingly hilarious.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first? It's just very hard to understand you with all the...
Search him.
It put me in a good mood right away to meet one of the heroes of the story with such a fun personality. Someone who could crack a joke in what should be an intense moment just to relieve some of the tension. And while I have a lot to say about Poe, I feel like his character only really shines in the next movie, The Last Jedi, as his role in The Force Awakens is fairly limited as he disappears after escaping with Finn and crashes on Jakku, and only shows up again for several other scenes. He's given far more focus in The Last Jedi, where, funny and ironically enough, a number of people believe his character doesn't develop during the events of that film, despite what he goes through. At the start of The Last Jedi, we see the Resistance is evacuating their base before the First Order can arrive to avenge the destruction of Starkiller Base. A dreadnought arrives before everyone gets out, and Poe is the one who takes it upon himself to cause a distraction long enough for the Resistance to get the last of its people loaded up and make their escape. However, Poe goes too far when he ignores the orders of Leia and launches an attack on the ship with the backup of the other pilots and bombers to help bring this fleet killer down. And while successful, they lose many fighters, along with their entire bombing fleet. Poe returns and is immediately demoted and scolded by Leia. Poe doesn't understand at first because he believes he's won an important victory. However, this scene is very similar to a conversation in Game of Thrones between Edmure Tully and Robb Stark.
I think King Robb understands we're not going to win this war if he's the only one winning any battles. There's glory enough to go around.
It's not about glory.
I seized an opportunity. We took the fight to him. He could not withstand us.
What value was the mill? How many men did you lose?
208. But for every man we lost, the Lannisters...
We need our men more than Tywin needs his!
Yes, Poe destroyed another First Order ship, but at the cost of many lives to the Resistance, lives that are not as easily replaced as the First Order can manage. Hence, when Leia is rendered comatose due to a later First Order attack, the confusion and divide begins with many viewers, I believe. We, as the viewers, trust Poe due to his actions in The Force Awakens. He clearly and obviously only wants the best for his people and the galaxy. However, in The Last Jedi, he also shows he places his vision and desires to be a hero above the long-term planning that goes into warfare, which reaps deadly and harsh consequences. But it's hard for us to look past that because of our trust for his character. We believe he is trying to do the right thing because he is, but it takes the introduction of Admiral Holdo to show him that he's still wrong. During most of the remainder of this film, he's constantly at odds with this new commanding officer, who seemingly has it out for him as she is reluctant or outright refuses to share her plans with Poe, while putting down his efforts to try and set up a friendly relationship with her. Holdo's treatment of Poe stems from his earlier actions. He disobeyed direct orders from a superior officer. He got a significant portion of their fleet killed for his own glory, and while saddened by their loss, he fails to understand that his victory is short-lived. That dreadnought he lost half the Resistance fleet to would and will be easily replaced. The cost was not worth the reward. So Holdo keeps him at a distance in fear of what he might do to further endanger the remaining fleet. And I know I'm taking a long time to talk about Holdo, but it's due to the fact that his relationship with her is directly responsible for his biggest change in his overall story. So I can't really talk about him without referring to her. Poe only ends up further proving Holdo right when he works against her orders and commands in secret and sends out Finn and Rose for his own personal mission to save the fleet. And when things reach a boiling point, he stages an outright mutiny to seize control from Holdo. until Leia wakes up from her coma and decides to give Poe a good old taste of motherly love. However, despite his disrespect and betrayal, even Holdo shows she held no hard feelings for the young pilot in the end. Once Poe wakes up, he finds himself on one of the evacuation pods. Holdo had planned to transport the remaining Resistance in secret to the nearby planet of Crate, where the hope is the Resistance would be able to hide in secret and await for aid while Holdo continued to pilot her ship and lead the First Order fleet away from the rest of the Resistance without them knowing, and sacrificing herself in the process. Once Poe understands her full plan, even he admits to its potential. However, due to his earlier actions of sending Rose and Poe on their mission, the First Order learns of Holdo's plan and begins picking off the escape pods, at which point Holdo, seeing no alternative now that the jig is up, redirects her ship towards their fleet and commits one of the greatest holy shit moments in sci-fi history. And once the surviving Resistance makes it to the planet, they begin to prepare themselves for the coming retaliation of the First Order. Poe leads the defense for the Resistance's last stand as they await for anyone to hear their distress calls and come to their aid. However, it's then shown that though their message was sent and received, no one is willing to come and stand up to the First Order. The Resistance is trapped and their last line of defense has been destroyed. Only when Luke Skywalker appears do we see the effect Holdo has had on Poe's character, as when Luke marches out of the hole in the blast door to face down with the First Order, Finn is ready to walk out there with him as he expects Poe to do the same. However, it's Poe that's the one to stop Finn. In that moment, Finn is mirroring Poe's earlier attitude of being eager and ready to fight without thinking more than 2 steps ahead. But Poe now sees the bigger picture. He understands the true burden of leadership and acts with everyone's best interests in mind above his own ambition. Hence, when he starts giving the orders for the survivors to start looking for a way out instead of preparing them to fight, Leia turns command over to him, as he's now become a true leader for the Resistance, all thanks to his conflict with Holdo, who helped shape his new understanding of putting others before himself. And his character continues to reflect this through the rise of Skywalker, as he bases his strategies and desires off of what is best for the Resistance as a whole, which is what makes him worthy to be made the leading general of the Resistance after Leia's passing. To me, Poe embodies your average true-blooded Star Wars fan if they were just suddenly plopped into the Star Wars universe. Poe obviously grew up with stories of the days of the rebellion against the Empire and the heroes who led the charge against tyranny and brought hope to the galaxy. So Poe tries his hardest to be as every bit of an inspiration of hope to his men and those around him as Luke, Han, and Leia were to him. And while this has led him to commit many mistakes, no one can deny his heart and soul represent everything the Resistance stands for: freedom, justice, and yes, hope. I hope you enjoyed this video today, guys. If you liked it, I'd really appreciate a like. If you want to see more, please give me a subscribe. If you want to go that extra mile, maybe share this video with someone that you think might appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.